Hello once again, Dynamic Family. My name is Dynamo, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. So today we are back with our next episode of the Health is Wealth series. This one is going to be a little different from most, mostly because I have now had more personal experience with this issue. Not quite to the level of, I've had somebody in my life do this, but I have had someone very, very close to me whose best friend ended up doing this. I felt that it was best that I sort of honor her memory and give this topic to you guys to discuss because I feel like it's a very big and growing issue, not for just men, women, non-binary or anything like that. It's a worldwide problem, and I feel like it really needs to be put out there that everybody goes through this. A lot of people don't recognize how harsh words can be, and they fail to see that the consequences of what they say to someone can lead them to do something so hurtful to not only themselves but to other people as well. It's saddening to hear about news like this to anybody, to a friend, to family, and I hope that anybody who is watching today never has to go through the trauma of this for the rest of their lives. And just like always, I'm going to leave a disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. I am not a therapist. I am not a doctor. This is simply my own thoughts and opinions on mental health issues. If you have any problems or you feel like you are feeling in any type of way of things that I am describing right now, go ask for professional help. Go to a therapist because they are trained to help you. I am not. Don't take everything that I say as the word, because I am not trained to medically help anybody. And so I always implore each and every single one of you who are watching to always go to a therapist or to talk to somebody who is professionally trained to help you. So the topic that we are going to be discussing for today is the topic of suicide. I have not had very much personal experience with this, but as I said before, someone very, very close to me very recently had a best friend who committed suicide. And it's really tough for me because I can't comfort that friend right now because we live very far apart from each other. And I wish that I could, but at the same time, I feel like this is a great way to do it, to be able to not only let her know and hear my words, but to also let anybody else who is watching this feel the exact same. And to let you know that whoever it is that you have lost in your life, I hope that some way you can find some peace in knowing that no one has ever truly gone. And I know that saying this is not exactly helpful, but in my eyes, I believe that even in the passing of life, you still hold the memories of the person that you lost in here and in here, in your heart and in your mind. And so to me, that makes me think that no one has ever truly gone. It's saddening because you wish you could have prevented it, but at the same time, it's very hard to recognize signs at first when somebody is feeling this way, especially when they don't tell you. It's very difficult to deal with this later on because it feels like it was your fault. There's never going to be that happiness that you felt once before because it feels like a part of you is missing because that person had such a big impact in your life. I know it is difficult, but at the same time, the best that we can do moving forward is to be able to spread information about suicide everywhere so that it never happens to anybody else. And that's the purpose of this video. That's the purpose of all these videos that I do, is to spread awareness and to spread kind words to help people and to not have any traumatic experiences happen to anybody else in the world, because I feel like nowadays it's just, death and, destruction everywhere that you go. And just to have that little bit of light, of hope, and of recognition is always something that I feel like should be addressed in today's society. So once again, I did try and go onto the American Psychiatric Association. They didn't have a definition of it, but I did go to the American Psychological Association, and they did give me a term, a definition for suicide, and that's what I'm going to read right now. So their definition of suicide is as follows: the act of killing oneself. Frequently, suicide occurs in the context of a major depressive episode, but it may also occur as a result of a substance use or other disorder. It sometimes occurs in the absence of any psychiatric disorder, especially in untenable situations such as extreme or prolonged bereavement or declining health. So, when they talk about declining health, it's not so much as in your body. Your body does feel a certain way when you start to think about things, but it's mostly up again in your mind. It is a psychological thing. And most times, suicide can be the result of prolonged feelings of unhappiness or just not feeling that you belong anywhere or feeling less than other people or, in most cases, even being bullied. Being bullied in high school or middle school, the kids who will always pick on that one person who just, they just maybe got there, they maybe transferred there, and for whatever reason, they decided to just single people out and basically ruin their lives, not just physically, but also emotionally. And over time, that can really start to break a person down to the point where they feel like living is no longer a viable option. And unfortunately, this happens a lot, and it happens even still to this day. Bullying is one of the leading causes of suicide, as well as in general just not being happy with life. It can be something completely random. You could be thinking for a moment and you're wondering what you're doing with your life. You're not working the job that you want to, and you just do it for days and days and days, and suddenly it just kind of hits you that, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like killing myself would be better because then I could be free of the pain that I feel inside because I don't feel like telling anyone else, as you don't want to add problems to somebody else's life. It's different for everyone in terms of their own aspects of life and how they view the world in their eyes. A lot of people can deal with stressful situations differently, and as a result, they find themselves enjoying more in life than others will. And it's not as difficult for them if they get into a long run where they just feel like life doesn't really matter, or they feel like they can't find the joy and the purpose in life. Unfortunately, they don't speak out about it. A lot of people just feel like it's better to just keep it inside because, again, they don't want to be a burden on anybody else, or they feel like they are just being too much. There are a lot of things that people will say when it comes to suicide that are very harmful to one person, especially if the wrong person finds out that somebody is feeling suicidal. They will egg them on and they will try to actually get them to commit the act just for their own pleasure or their self-desire, because either they're dealing with stuff at home that makes them feel like this, or there's something in their own life that makes them feel the exact same way, and they feel putting their pain onto somebody else is the greatest way to get rid of it. There are not a lot of people who are willing to stand up against people like that because they don't want that to happen to them. They don't want to be bullied, they don't want to be ridiculed. And so, oftentimes they just leave it. And that's one of the hardest truths, is that not everybody is going to come to save you. And with that knowledge, it's really difficult to find any help, especially when it comes to dealing with bullying in general. A lot of things that you will hear is just that, oh, like, you need to just suck it up, life happens. You'll also may hear the, just outright, someone will tell you to just kill yourself, or your life doesn't matter, like your life is meaningless, like why are you even here, you should just get it over with. It's really hard to recognize these signs because the person who is going through all of this will oftentimes never even tell you, and you'll never even know. You could see them one day and they could have the biggest smile on their face, but on the inside, they are screaming for help. And unfortunately, it leads to a lot of times where people are blaming themselves for the deaths of a loved one or a friend because they felt like they could have helped more and they didn't recognize those signs off the bat immediately. And that's never a way that you should think. I want to tell you right now that if you are dealing with this right now, that it is not your fault. It was never your fault. That will stay with you forever because you felt like you could have done more and just didn't ask. But at the same time, do not blame yourself. A lot of times there are going to be instances where the signs are near impossible to decipher. And the best that we can do is to use this knowledge moving forward to help others so that the same doesn't happen to them, and to be able to bring action and to be able to save more lives in the process, even though you could not save the one that you truly wanted. I think the biggest thing about suicide that most people should know is that the people that you leave behind are going to miss you desperately. You're going to leave a hole in their hearts and in their lives. And I encourage you, anybody out there who may be having these kinds of thoughts, to think about the people that you love before you even think about it. To just think about the people that you love and you have in your life who really truly care for you and who love you and who are there for you, because they can help you. You just have to be willing to step forward, to take that first step, even though it's terrifying, and to let them know that you are in trouble and to let them know that you need help, because they are going to miss you so very much. You know, a lot of people think that no one would miss them if they were to commit suicide, but that's never true. There are people in your life who care and who love you and will desperately want to help you to not have these kinds of thoughts. And so I always implore you to just talk to someone, a friend, a best friend, your family. One of the better things to do is to go to a therapist, or even call the suicide hotline. I'm going to put the suicide hotline right here in big, giant, bold numbers. That way you guys know that this is your lifeline. I implore you to call this number always. The second that you are having these thoughts, to always call this number first. Because these are trained people who are there for you and they want to help you. This is a line dedicated to saving lives. And they can save yours, I promise you. You just have to give them a chance. I know it's hard and I know it's difficult, but we're in this together. You are not alone. There will always be help for you if you need it. You just have to be willing to ask. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death around the world, and it's honestly terrifying because it's shown how society has changed in such a big way, and that change is just not a good thing. It seems like nowadays things are moving in the wrong direction and people are finding themselves in this hole that they can't dig themselves out of, and as a result they commit themselves to the thought of ending their own life because they think it'll bring them peace and that it'll bring them happiness, but it won't. I'm here to tell you that you will hurt a lot of people if you do, and they are going to miss you. Your presence will forever be felt with these people. That I can absolutely assure you of. But it will always be a very painful memory for most, because they felt that they had a hand to play in you taking your own life. You are loved, and that people do notice you, and people do see you. Not a lot of them are going to act on it, unfortunately, but at the same time, there are people who do care for you. You will always have love. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, there will always be love. There will always be care. Know that I love you. Even though I may not know you, I love you. For any flaws that you think that you have, for any problems that you think you may have, I love you. Always have, always will. And with that, I am going to end the video here. As always, I'm going to leave a link to a TED Talk in the description down below. That way you guys can watch it if you would like. I find TED Talks to be extremely educational and to be very helpful in spreading awareness of mental health issues not only, but to most other issues as well. But I feel like it's better if you listen to a person who is a lot more educated on it than I am, and to take their words with stride and to grow and to be able to take something valuable away that will help you in the future, and to recognize that you are worth every single piece of life. You're worth every bit, and you always will. I hope that whoever's watching has a fantastic rest of your day, and to always remember, don't be constant, be dynamic, but most importantly, be healthy, and you will always have a place on earth. Never ever forget that. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.